And then I'm going to actually share my screen here. Today's topic is on display and merchandising. And let's see, it will show some examples. These are some examples of why we talk about this. And that is because things can get out of control. These are all images of retail spaces, and one of them is an image of a retail store in Young Life. So just starting here at the top, not stocking very well can definitely make our customers think that we're going out of business. This one down here, we've taken all of our inventory out of the stock room and put it out, but there's a phrase in retail, stack it high and watch it fly. And that doesn't mean fly out the door, it means fly onto the floor. Then you've got this image over here, which kind of looks like my Old Navy. I mean, just so much happening, so much on the floor. It looks like a hurricane. And then this last one, where our displays need to be thought of about just 360, so the display looked great on the front. Like, I should have taken a picture of the front, but when you walked around to the back, it's as if they forgot that customers were going to shop all the way around. So those are just a few reasons as to why we talk about display and merchandising. Hey, good morning, Karen. Good to see you. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about some principles, things that we've learned. Brenda's going to share some of those. And then raise your hand if you have some images that you have from your space. Anyone bring any displays? They're great. We're going to put some of those up there, and then we'll give some feedback and share some great tips for moving forward. All right, Brenda, I'm going to go on mute. Do you want to share from our notes just some things about display and merchandising?
Sorry, I'm trying to pull that up.
Sure. Well, I can start.
Okay.
I can start us off. Well, the first one is that it's a key component, and it's been proven that great displays improve sales performance when there's intention and when there's excellence. So some folks that are outside of retail will sometimes ask, why do you even care? Why is there some money set aside for this? And that is, statistically, sales improve when a space looks like we've prepared it for them. And you, as all of you are customers, you've had these experiences where you walk into a space and you're like, oh, this looks really great. I don't know about you, but Altered State always makes me feel that way. Their displays and the music and just even the flow of the store makes me want to shop and look around. The next tip is that store design themes should match your camp design guide so that there should be continuity. Anybody find their design guide last week? All of you? Anybody not be able to find? Yeah. Design guide, great thing to talk about with your camp manager as to what are the colors, what are the themes, what are the icons. I used Frontier last week, but I could, Sam, I could look at Timberwolf and go, it was the wolf for a while, and then there was a moose stage, but there aren't moose in Michigan. So they had to say, wait a minute, we've had a little bit of drift in our theme. In Saranac, when I first arrived there, it was a New England fishing vibe, which it made sense because the store was out on the water, but there were lobster crates and nets and big thick jute ropes. Didn't really match the Adirondack Great Camp. And then it went through a fishing phase where everything was, fish that actually weren't endemic to that lake. But what would you say is the theme happening in the store right now? How have you adapted and changed it? Because I haven't seen it in a while.
I would say just a lot of like picking on the outdoors recreation thing. So we've got like some old snowshoes, old wooden skis, hitting on this like evergreen and camping kind of thing. And that's kind of echoed across camp as well. So trying to get away from nautical and move towards recreation and outdoors and that kind of thing. So a lot of greens and reds.
Greens and reds. Raspberry truffle, I think, was the red that they found. Now, Debbie, at Lost Canyon, it's been train for a long time, and the store had a really cohesive theme, but overall, camp is going a little different direction. Are you guys actually working on your design guides now?
Yeah, there's obviously been a lot of design shifting in our 2020, and we've spent a lot of time on colors. And yeah, we are still sticking with the train town, but trying to narrow down um, kind of the era and not so much of the Victorian style, but more of kind of rustic train mountain town that goes more in line with where we're at in the Southwest without getting too Southwest in theme. So, yeah, we don't have a clear, succinct statement yet, but I think we're moving in a good direction.
Yeah, great, great. Well, that is true. I'm also thinking about Castaway. When I went there, some of the buildings had yacht club. Some of the buildings had like old clipper ships, like sailing wooden ships that you would think Christopher Columbus sailed on. And then they had ocean theme with turtles and coral, nautical with flags and orange buoy. So there were so many interpretations of nautical, like just even saying nautical didn't define it enough, and it started to have some drift from building to building. So you're a big contributor to the design in how it gets expressed in our spaces, but also how it you often get asked to do things also around camp that relates to theme. So those are the why. Those are the two statements that it increases sales, and it is an extension of the theme that should be around all of camp. Now let's talk about some principles. Brenda, do you have that doc?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So when you're thinking of making a display, you always want to think about the textures that you're using and using a variety of different ones, as opposed to just like making a table that has just only buckets of keychains on it or hard goods on it. It's always great to incorporate, like in these pictures, you can see that you have a plumpkin there with a t-shirt on it, and put some soft textures in there with it, to just mix it up so it doesn't look kind of boring the other way. So you always want to be careful to look at texture. And then for color, you want to create a display that works well together in color. You wouldn't want to put orange and purple together, obviously. And even when you're thinking of putting like your wall together where your t-shirts are hanging, I always I try to think about it when I'm ordering. This year didn't do that very much, but when I get all my shirts in, I then take them all downstairs and I kind of lay them out on the floor in front of where I think I'm going to hang them, and try to make sure that they all kind of go together, that they perhaps pull a color from each other, depending on where you're going to hang them on the waterfalls. And to also maybe put like, well, most people do have like a girl section. So to put those, there's lots of items that I buy that aren't necessarily a girl cut, but it is a girl graphic. And to put those together in a section always looks well together. And there is like this color wheel that you can look at online. I think it's linked in that on this sheet, and you can make sure that you're putting colors together that look good. For lighting, you want to make sure that your displays are well lit. Sometimes it's hard if you're putting it into like a cabinet or something to make sure that each shelf is lit. And I have recently found these LED strips that you can get, and I've actually used them at my house and put them behind my fireplace mantle. And they work really well to put underneath a shelf, and they're just like tape, really, that you can tape onto the underneath of a shelf, and then you can either buy ones that plug in or you can get battery powered ones. And they have a remote and you would just turn them off, obviously, every day to try to save the batteries. But it really helps. I have a lot of like antique displays that are dark. And so when I put things in there, sometimes it's hard to see. So it helps a lot, just drawing people's eyes to that, and to be able to see the merchandise. It helps a lot with that.
And I'm going to jump in to add to that. Often, as you get all of your displays set up, it's helpful to grab a ladder and then adjust your spots. So you all should have spotlighting throughout the store, and some of them can get pointed in every different direction. So give that a second pass after all of your lighting is done, and then also be looking for dark spots. Often these track lights, you can add more spotlights on a track. There is a load that you have to be aware of, but sometimes you can have some dark corners in the space that you're just not aware of. So just give lighting a second glance after you're all done with displays.
Yes. As far as using like a table to create a display, like lots of stores have front tables, the first thing you see when you walk in. You want to be able to create height on that with boxes perhaps that you put in the back of it so that it's not all just flat things sitting on a flat surface. So using like, you know, even wooden blocks, or if you have crates in the back room to like put on top of the table, then you put a plumpkin on top of that, or a t-shirt display on top of that. That way, you get more height and it's just a more pleasing visual. I know that some people display on the floor. I would recommend to try to keep everything up off the floor. It's fine to like I have a table downstairs that there's nothing under it. So I have an old chest slid under it, but I don't really put like tins on the floor. I just don't think it looks good. And that's my personal, I don't know how you feel about that, Kathleen. You can jump in if you disagree.
I think anything that a customer can't reach, standing up, can't reach to shop with is too low. So when it goes all the way to the floor and the person has to do something like that, it's too low. But there's wonderful ways to prop things up into that shopping space, like stumps, where it's still you've got the height on top of the table, maybe a bench in front of the table, but anything lower than that bench is starting to get to the point where the shopper has to actually reach down, and it will get lost and topple over. So I definitely agree. There is a point that too low is too low.
And you want to make sure that it is shoppable also. You don't want to put so many things around your display that it's hard for them to reach into the center of the table and get something. If they can't get close enough to the table, then they can't get to the stuff they're trying to buy. And like that example of what Kathleen showed before, that you want to make sure that it's shoppable all the way around. If it's not up against a wall, that they can go to the back side and shop it as well. Yeah, and then signage, it's like, I think it's great when you can put as many signs up as possible that tell people how much it costs, especially if it is on sale. I think that really draws people in when they can see the sign that says sale. And you just want to make sure that that your signs are very similar to your theme and your design. You don't want to put like bright neon lit up signs, or I know in the past we used to, during work week, we'd have people just use all these bright colored markers and make signs, and none of them matched. And I would really recommend finding a font that you like, that goes with what you want in your store, and then maybe just using craft paper and printing out signs. Not like, unless you guys are really good at handwriting them. I'm not. So I've like found a font that I like that I think is cool. And I print out all of my signs that I want for pricing, or for like, hey, this is last chance to buy these shirts. I have a sign that just says, if you can't find your size, please let us know. We would love to help. But I would just recommend they all look the same, not random signs all over the place.
And you can also use Canva, that program that a lot of you guys already
Yes.
know about. Canva makes all of us graphic designers. So you might find some image or concept that you think really enhances what you're trying to communicate. And I love what Brenda's saying about theme and also some consistency, so you don't have to one point neon over here and emerald green and birch logs framed sign. Like you want some consistency. So, and other thing to mention about signage is great for communicating sales and grabbing attention to your customers. Also really helpful to inform your customer. There's often products that come in that people are like, what is this? So sometimes signage can be about informing our customer about what a product is, as well as the different sections. I think it's pretty obvious that you have a book section, but it's, note your sales section or your book section, or kids. Those are also great ways to do that with big block letters, physical letters like that you would get at Hobby Lobby. That can also be informative to your customer.
Yeah, and the last thing that we have on here is talking about props that you might have in your store to just add visual, interesting things to see. Like in the, can they see the thing that I'm looking at, Kathleen?
They have these notes.
Okay. Like the one on the bottom right where they have those flower things to just draw your eye to it. And then in the window display at Frontier Ranch, they have some oars in there. I had like these snowshoes in my store, or I used to, I don't even have them anymore. But I've often had people ask if they could buy the things that are there. I had like a tractor sign that went kind of with our theme here at Windy Gap. But yeah, you can have those things if you feel, well, and like I mentioned, like the old chest that I have, like it's not for sale, obviously, but it adds visual interest, and it takes a space up that would look very empty if it wasn't there. So I'm sure you guys probably have things like that in your store already, but just make sure that when you do have them, that they do match your camp and the theme that you're doing. And then as far as the budget goes, Kathleen, I'm not sure what the total sales budgeted.
Yeah, it's 1%.
1%.
Yes. So we take our total sales, and then we take 1% of that, and that's our recommended guidance under sundries. And sundries we chose on our budget because it just really didn't get used for anything else. But we make sure that we're putting money into how the visual display of our spaces look. And that might be you're going to buy some props, or you're going to buy some lighting or a display piece. Keep in mind, vendors often offer great display pieces if you buy product from them. I think Natural Life is one of my favorites. If I do an order with Natural Life, they'll often discount their displays. And mugs, for example, are really hard to display well because they can get really linear, and to get height. I know Natural Life has some good mug displays. So putting some money into your budget visually is important. So
Yes. That's all I got.
That's
Kathleen.
Great. Let's talk about these pictures. And this is a chance for you guys to lead the conversation. So take yourself off mute. We're going to start in the upper left-hand corner. And I'll start us off, but look at that picture and share what are some things you think are going well in that picture, in that display. One of the things I'm going to start off with is that the shirt is layered. Anytime you put a shirt on a mannequin, layer it. It gives it more body and more shape. And this often I have gone to thrift stores and just gotten a red shirt, a green shirt, a purple shirt from a thrift store, and I just keep it in my display bucket so that it's not a shirt that I'm actually selling, so I don't know it's there. The other trick that I've used is that all of my displays have the same size. So everything on a mannequin is a medium or a large, because then I don't have to guess what it is. So those are two tricks, but what else do you see happening in this display that we've talked about that is good merchandising?
I feel like there's like layers to it. So you have like the shirt and then something a little underneath it. So it's not just all the same height or all the same. There's just layers to it. And there's colors that are all tied in together. So it kind of ties that whole section together. So that's what stood out to
Yeah.
me.
Color story, you can see the orange in the hat, in the golf balls, all the way up to the shirt that it layered, all the way up to the hat. So there's a color story happening throughout. What else is happening in that picture?
I like how the hat that's being displayed is right there to be shopped. You don't have to go looking for it.
Excellent. Love it. To the customer experience, it's very accessible, very shoppable. Love that. Great point.
I think it's a good example of like how to set up a table well. We were talking about like different heights, so it's not just a table with all the same level things. And so I think somebody maybe kind of said that a little bit, but there's like so many levels on the table, which is helpful.
That's so great. There's that hard and that soft. There's height. There's a great color story. The other thing that I like in this that they've added a prop. That metal sign is just something that they kept in their display bin. It matched this was Oak Bridge. It matched their Southern California theme. And so they just had some of those props in a bin to add to the display. So great. All right, well, let's move to the right side. So upper right, this is the front window at Frontier. And I have to say this one image wise didn't come out super clear, but what are some things that you see display wise that are great practices?
The lighting is really fun. Like it makes that window look really inviting, to have some warmth and light in there.
Love that. You may not notice, but there's those outdoor carnival lights wrapped around the window. So it really created some interest. I think she even set those on a timer so that it was lit after hours.
I like how it's tall.
Yep.
With using those tall mannequin things that she had. So it fills up the whole window.
Exactly. She also here, again, went to a thrift store, got a pair of jeans. There's also a white shirt that she popped the collar and put under the sweatshirt. Sometimes a jean jacket is a great display, and the whole back is covered with buttons or patches. So those other full garment items are great ads. I also noticed, go ahead. So someone else was going to go. Nope. Well, what's a little hard to see is she took some props and spray painted them a fun color. So there's a fan, an old fan that she spray painted bright yellow. There's two oars that she painted bright red, although I don't think oars are great for Frontier. I think that concept is great. There's a skateboard that's red in there. The other thing that's a little hard to notice is every year she would do, during work week, she'd get some interns and put some of the new product on them, and then take a photo shoot, take those to the local Kinko's or UPS stores, blow them up on foam board, and then she had real kids in real garments that they were selling, to fill in spaces, like in the store and in the window, which I thought was a great idea. All right, well, let's go to Trail West. This is a little bit old, but that bottom corner, And to Brenda's point, I think this display actually went too close to the floor, but you can definitely see it started all the way high and went all the way low. So there's a lot of depth here. But what other things do you see in this display?
This is so funny. This is the Trello store, like you said. And at first I was like, oh, cool. Wait, it's like so different now. So it looks like this is our pre-lodge renovation. But what was fun for me is seeing the cowboy hats, because it is insane how many cowboy hats we actually sell at Trail West, especially to little kids. So this was a reminder for me to kind of reincorporate our design theme into the store merchandising, and just to use cowboy hats more, because we are like, our design guide theme is like a revived rustic mountain lodge remembering the roots of the old Colorado West. So even though we have like, you know, matte black accents and metal accents and stuff, we still like put in a lot of old Colorado West type stuff. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. There's a saddlebag hung over one of the shoulders. You can see on that red shirt. It's an old, when you see the actual picture, it's like a saddlebag. It's good. It's good. Anything else in that picture that catches your eye?
I'm not sure if the frames are for sale or for like merchandising, but that's one thing that we also do here is we have some picture frames with like kids parasailing or kids tubing that make really nice fillers. And so I like how those were incorporated into this display too.
I love that word filler. That's a great concept, because sometimes you just need a little hard versus soft, or dynamic versus something really plain and simple. Awesome. Okay, well, let's go to the last picture there. What are some things about that display? It's a different kind of display that catch your eye. One of the things I liked is the pennants you can see low. So it's a great way. They took this little garland and filled the space, the dead space at the bottom, not with product, but with the garland, which created some interest and theming. They have those, I mean, they're very expensive tissue paper. They probably don't last really long, but they created interest. Literally thumbtack them onto this old furniture piece. And then I like that they had the jewelry forms, although those might be a little jewelry store-ish. You could find something more thematic, but they created some height within the shelves. And I would, to Brenda's point, I think it could use some lighting in like those strip lighting she was talking about. But I like that it had props and it had low to high thinking in it. So great. Well, I'm going to show you a couple more examples. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so these were the bad examples, but let's go to the ones that were good. Oh, wrong way. There we go. All right. Well, we've seen this one here in the middle, but let's take a look at what is wrong with the one to the far left, the gray one.
Is the layering shirt sticking out from that mannequin, or is that something else? Is
It
that
is.
something random?
It didn't get tucked in. It's just there. So needs to be tightened up a little bit. What else?
The like
looks-
cardigan. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say the cardigan they have over the top of it is like really distracting and kind of covers up what you're actually trying to sell.
Agreed. I kind of think that this dynamic t-shirt needed a little just stand on its own also. But I do like that it's layered, so that's good. There's two more things that came to my mind as I saw this picture.
Is that the floor or is that?
It is a window, kind of a ledge.
Oh, but it's like not okay. It just looked like the floor, and I was like, I don't know, but I still feel like the cups at the bottom just are kind of oddly placed. Like maybe like putting one up high if you're gonna do that, or just like not all just in one line. I don't know. Make it a little fun.
Agreed. And
Yeah, it seems very empty at the bottom.
agreed.
It looks like a person who lost their bottom half.
And who left their coffee. They forgot about it.
Yeah, they forgot.
So if you're gonna put something like a one of something in a display, it's because it's higher or less shoppable. But if something's in shoppable reach, you want to make it shoppable. So I would have had 6 of each of these mug styles in it, or it really does look like an afterthought. The other thing is that the 360 point of view, this is in a display window. So I'm just imagining as people walk by, they're just seeing the back of the hood of this garment, not really something engaging or interesting. So, okay, let's talk about what's working in this neon one. What do you like? Now, granted, this is a higher display that's up on a wall, on a slat wall. What do you like about this display?
It's got layers, so it's not all the same like height. So there's like the t-shirt, and then there's the mannequin, and then even like the cups have some layering to it, all the way down to like the journals that are there.
Great.
Kathleen, I think you were talking about layering the shirt when you display it. And so that has that. And I think also, I think we've talked about this a lot, but shoppable, like the journals are right there and the pens are right there. And so it just seems like you can see everything really easily and you can grab something easily if you would like to buy it.
Yeah. In fact, they've layered this beyond just an undershirt. They've added the lanyard and the hat. Sometimes you could throw on a pair of sunglasses tucked on the shirt or a necklace or whatever the trend might be, but they've definitely accessorized the mannequin. So, well, great. And then this last one, kind of this Christmas looking one, this one is from a coffee shop. Lots of things happening here. There are a lot of layers. I like that it's high, medium, low. I like that it's got greenery mixed in. Sometimes that is a great thing to add to your displays, is something that looks like it's been taken from the outdoors and brought in. So pine trees, baskets, adding another type of texture. And if you trace your eye, you can almost see a zigzag pattern where the eye starts high and it can just move throughout. Sometimes you can do that with color. I think they've done it here with greenery so that your eye just has a natural flow to look through the display. Okay. All right, well, let's pause and let's share some of our displays. So if you've taken a picture of your display, share it with us and or describe it to us, and then tell us what you like or what you don't like, or maybe you're sharing something that you're stuck, you're not sure what to do with it, and we can give you some feedback. So anyone can jump in.
Kathleen, how would be best to share the pictures during this conversation?
Any way you want. You can also, you could probably email it to me and I could screen share it, or I can share my screen, allow you to share if you have it on your computer. On your phone, it might get a little overexposed. So that might be a question, but I can definitely, if you send it to me email wise, I can put it up on mine. I don't have a store to show you any displays in, so I'm gonna have to lean on your displays.
Kathleen, I'm gonna email it to you, so.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah, I just emailed some to you too.
great. Let me pull those up. Sam, are these pictures that you like or you're not fond of?
A little bit of both. So like the black display, I was just trying to figure out what to do underneath it without like putting stuff to sell on the floor. And then the second drinkware one, I don't like. It's just so linear and I can't figure out how to like give it more dimension. So if we could talk about that,
Okay,
or if it's okay, like it kind of, well, you'll put it up.
okay. Here's this image. It's a beautiful piece of furniture.
There it goes. Okay. Yeah, this also, I hadn't restocked. We were open this weekend and then I forgot we were doing pictures. So typically it would be more stocked than this. But yeah, like the part at the bottom, I want to use that space, but I just feel like it's low to put things
What's
on.
down there right now?
There's one like book displayed on a like prop thing down there, which I want to move.
Oh, does the wall have pages on it behind there?
Yes. So Marge had put up
Oh.
like it's her reading wall because that like flows in on the right side. There's the book section. And so it's covered with like pages.
Oh, okay.
So it like flows up and over into the books.
Mhm.
Things that come to my mind is putting some bigger things below on easels that are props that aren't things that you sell, that are thematic. The other thing is those journals on the left. I'd put those on easels, acrylic easels, so that you can see them more visually. I also want to put something on top of that, like maybe some colorful letters that say books, or you know, TWL, something up high that creates interest. And then the other thing that's standing out to me is there's a lot of different color stories happening. You've got the brights and then the pottery. I think I would go with brights if your journals are bright, and then find a different section for the pottery mugs. I would just choose a direction in that space.
Agreed. Another thing I would say is sometimes with mugs, you can kind of put them on top of each other, like have two on the bottom and then set a third one on top of it to just create some height. And then it's just not all these lines. Instead, it's got like three mugs together. It just creates some height. But I agree with the colors. I think you need to either choose neon or not, but don't not have them together. And another thing that would help too, because that's such a black display, is the light strips to put underneath the shelves.
I mean, if you wanted to go crazy, you could get some contact paper, like wallpaper, and put it in the back of the cabinet to bring some interest. The other thing is, to Brenda's point, that tripoding. I love that. I also went to the hardware store and got acrylic sheets. They're just, I don't know what to call them. Like, they're thin layers of acrylic, and I just stack them on top to create kind of a solid flat base that I could stack something on top of. Sometimes the corners got a little sharp. I had to round those off, but there's kind of like, it was kind of like a folding board, but it was see-through or clear. And it kind of, they were small, about this big, and I could just put them on top of things and stack. And those little LED lights I think could be cute too. Anything else? Anybody else? And we'll switch pictures. Let me try and get another picture.
Sam, I think also the journals on the I don't know where it went, but the second shelf, there's 3 of them. And even like putting the middle one up high and then like turning them so they're not all facing straight out. Like you could have some dimension of like one's facing slightly in. Obviously you can still see it, but then like, does that make sense? I don't know. That's just something that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, next image. Sam, tell us about this.
Yeah, this one, there's just like so much drinkware to display, and it just, well, obviously it's not like I opened and then didn't reset it all, so it's normally like in lines, but yeah, it just feels like it all looks the same in that area. And they're really narrow, like especially this tall shelves, and so it's kind of hard to like get creative in displaying there. At least it has been in my brain, so if anyone has suggestions.
Something I really like to do with like water bottles like that is I've ombre'd them before. So I start with like a dark blue and then I move to a light blue and then light purple and then like slowly like basically like waterfall the colors. And like we have a Camelback shelf that it's just like a lot of water bottles all in one. And it helps make it look interesting. And so it's not like all colors all over the place. And I try to coordinate like these are the shoot kind versus like the different kind of lid. And so even just like doing something with the color might help.
Mhm. I'm wondering, are all of those actually different water bottles, or are there just a lot of them out at the same?
Yeah, there's like a couple of each. A lot of them have like different lids, different colors, different styles and sizes. There's like,
Mhm.
that's something that I would definitely, as I'm reordering, have less options because there's just so many different options.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if like you could incorporate like in a color story some hats, like you could maybe divide them up depending on what kind they are. Like maybe you put the Now jeans somewhere else in the store and you could have some different texture there. You put all of the shoot ones together, all of like the Hydro Flask type ones together. But I do think that I know that that's a great place to display water bottles, but I don't think they all have to be in the same split pit place. You could put some at the other side of the store. I have 3 different spots where I put water bottles and I just try to group them by the style that they are. So if you don't like the way it's just all in the one spot, you could do that. You could, find a different display to put the Now jeans on, and then you could put some hats there or some blankets that would have a different texture.
Yeah, I'm looking in that bottom corner where it's red, neon green, and black, and they're all the same type of bottle, but the colors don't really work with each other. So it would be fine if, let's say, you just had the black and turquoise and then a product that brings in black and turquoise and then had the red somewhere else close by, but maybe it's not all grouped together because those 4 colors don't work together. I do really like this ladder and like how you could put nails and hang different things because it definitely is an easy way to create height in that space. I don't love the pine grass and then the grass and then the pine trees. So those don't feel like they're in the same geography. So I do like that red metal prop. I think it would be great for buttons or chapstick. Actually, probably not. Let me just retract that. Those are great things to keep at the register because those things will walk. But I like that it's something that you can display things in. So maybe it's lids or things that were add-on sales for the water bottles. And I also liked Brenda's idea of maybe putting hats or sweatshirt blankets. Like I think of 3 sweatshirt blankets, you know, it's pretty narrow and it could create some softness in this space. So, okay, let me try another shot here. We'll go to Allie. Yours is next here, so let me pull up those. Now, Allie, are these pictures that are displays you really like, or are these problem areas?
I would say the shelf with the water bottles is probably one that worked well last summer. But this year I'm trying to, you know, I've moved that shelf from a different spot. And so, so this shelf is at the end of our slat wall on that back wall. And yeah, I think just trying to, I like this one better than the other one, but just trying to be creative about how to bring in hard goods into the side of the store that has a lot of clothing. I'm always thinking about that. And I think I will also say that I struggle a little bit with the like pre-buy type items, like the gifts and souvenirs, of how to incorporate those well into the clothing dominated space.
I like that it's at an angle and, you know, corners can be dead space. I like this display piece because it gets a lot of height. And I think that this is next to slat wall, so you've brought in hard goods right next to probably a lot of soft goods. So I think there's a lot of things really working here. I like all your straws in that bucket. You might even think of propping them up just even a little bit, a little on a log, you know, just give them legs just a little higher. That tree looks great. I would even think about hanging some items on the tree that people could buy, maybe on carabiners or different things. I think there's a lot happening here that's really great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I like it. I agree with what you're saying, Kathleen. Maybe just get the straws off the floor, but I think it looks great.
All right, let's go to this next one. Okay. I don't think you can see it though. I think only I can see it. Here, let me try that again. Okay, tell us about this one, Allie.
So this one was a display. This year we did a pop-up satellite store. So for y'all who don't know, the boathouse, which is where our store is, gets closed down for the winter because of the copious amounts of snow, and it does not have heat in that building. And so this year I brought up a few items and made kind of like a store at the top of camp for guests that we had come in on the weekends. And this display feels really brown. And yeah, it's kind of a smattering of items that was like, I brought up a lamp and a table and this like canoe thing. But not really, I don't think anyone bought anything off of this display this winter. So just, I don't know if it was the items I selected for this display or if it was where I put it, but yeah, these mugs have been in our store for a long time and nobody ever seems to buy them. So,
well, I think it's great. Here's some of the things I love. I love that you had a pine cone in there. I love that great lamp. It looks like a canteen, super on theme. The only thing I like that you've got pens with postcards. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. I wonder if you could have tripoded and added 2 more mugs to create that. There's some dead space in there. And then up at the top where that postcard is, I wonder if a little sign on a little, they were blocks and then they had a straight and then a little clip to do little micro messaging. But like, write your best friend, tell him about the best, you know, like something that's interactive. The other thing, and I think I've seen it done really poorly, but adding a fabric, going to a fabric store and finding a fabric that's on theme, whether it's a plaid or it's Aztec or it's bandana, adding some softness, like stuck in the mugs, something that creates some interest. Again, I think that can go a little doily. You know what I mean by that? Like it can go a little grandma. So you got to be careful, but you could have maybe thrown that fabric over that table and created some color and interest that way. So those are some thoughts. Anyone else? Okay, well, let's go to the next one. Debbie, I think yours is next here. It's this white cabinet. Let's see if it wants to share, though. You're laughing. I have a feeling it's one that you're not excited about.
I think so.
Oh, well, here, let me not show it that way.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I think it just pulled up right in my email. Let me try that again. Okay. I don't know how to flip it. So
Okay.
you might have to look at it this way. Tell us about this blue shirt.
Okay. So that one, I like that little section, and I think that the guys set it up, and I like that they added the hat. I'm curious if you all see anything that we could do different. And sorry, it's a sideways look. It's just on our t-shirt wall. So I like how they pulled in the table. So yeah, I like that it's displaying some of our other items, but curious how we could make that better.
Okay, guys, thoughts and feedback for Debbie.
I like that shirt. I probably wouldn't put the front of the shirt hanging up as well. I'd probably just have the back, and then they can pick up the shirt and see what's on the front. I display lots of my shirts backwards, and I don't worry because I know they can just pick it up and see the front. I think that it's a little high compared to where the table is, unless you would build up the table a little bit and have more height there. Because the little box that the hats and the mugs are on, I would suggest maybe being a bigger box that's taller so that it could fill in that space between the bottom of the shirt and the table.
That's a good word. Thank you.
And I think you could add more like hard goods to that table. Like I know you have that mug there, but you could do like a tripod of mugs. So you'd have more than just one sitting there, unless there is one behind it. I can't really tell. Yeah, you could have like more mugs just to make it look more full. But I like the colors together and everything. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Anything else? I wonder if you could put something under the table, like a trunk or some crates with some things so that you've got more high, medium, and low visually, because there's a lot of empty space below. I just want to put like a pine tree on this table, like something that's living or looks like it's living, just to change up the wood background and the wainscoting and the wood table, something that's interesting or grab some attention and bring some height to the table. All right, well, just for time's sake, we're going to scroll here. Tell us about this one, Deb.
Yeah, so this is our explosion of children's stuff, which I would say we just don't have, I don't have a lot of great things to maybe display smaller kids' shirts. And so, yeah, I tried to add some props in this section, but it feels disorganized. And obviously there's a lot of bright colors going on, but yeah, I don't love the way it looks. I was trying to figure out how to do that better for summer.
So I'd put more kitty props, stuffed animals, some signs. I would maybe even take one of the shirts and put thumbtacks behind it so that it's tacked up in the background so that it can be seen. Even that little pail or bucket, I would turn facing the customer and fill it that way. But I definitely think this space is screaming for stuffed animals. Maybe some toys in this section to mix the hard and the soft. And because you've got some higher shelves that aren't shoppable, that would be great for some painted letters that says kids or a YL painted really bright and kiddish to create some interest. But if I'm looking at this and you didn't tell me it was kids, I wouldn't have known. Anyone else see any?
Yeah, I don't know if you have toys or anything. But you could do buckets of toys in there, like a bucket of balls. If you have them. I mean, I don't know that you want to, I know that this year is different to where we're not buying a lot of inventory that we've been, you know, if we have a ton that we're sitting on. But if you have those things elsewhere in the store, you could put them over in this area.
I even wonder if you could go on Canva and create some cute, cartoonish, youthful faces of bears or whatever is endemic and print them and put them in the background of the shelf. Or, you know, that's pretty free. But create some images that make it look cute, go cute, or even the little pennants in the background, miniature. It's almost like you have this backdrop that you could decorate to say it's kids section. And then that last bottom shelf that has the gray and the yellow, it's so low. To compare it to the one next to it where they use the crate within the shelf. Think about crates within that shelf because it's so tall to create maybe 2 stacks within one shelf. But I do think this section is screaming for some props, sippy cups and toys and things.
Yeah, that's a good word. I don't know how much, of toys that we have at the moment, but I can definitely see if there's something we can pull into that area. But those are great thoughts. Thank you.
All right. I know we're reaching the end. Angela, we'll finish up with you here. And then we'll sign off. All right, let's see if this works. Angela, tell us about this display.
I can't see it yet, but which one is
this is the one. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
I kind of wish I picked a different one because I was thinking, I was like, wait, I think I like that one better. But this one I do like. I like what Jilly did with hanging them up high and then underneath those, like on the layers underneath that, like the yellow shirt could be found right underneath it. And so if they see it, they can look right under and they would find it there. I think something I would maybe do here is like, if like the heads look a little empty, so maybe like add some hats or something there to make it a little more less heady. Like, what happened at the top? And so I don't know any other thoughts there, but I do like how they're up high and it ties in, I feel like, well with the theme with what she did.
Any other thoughts for Angela?
I love that those swings. They're so cute. And I don't know how tall it is. Like I don't see like where the floor is, but I almost picture like little shelves above each one of those hangers with like a hat in between the shirts and the swings. I don't know, just to fill that space or some sort of sign or something. I don't know, but I love it.
For some reason, I want the yellow shirt to be in the center to play off the navy more.
Mm.
And then bring in the yellow on the other side. For some reason, I want to flip flop those. I also wonder if you could put a hat on the mannequin or something at the hip that like a water bottle or a stuffed animal or. But I like the simplicity too, so I don't want to mess that up. But it does feel like there is a like 1, 2, 3, 4, like the gap between your cascade and the bottom of the swing feels like empty space where it maybe a long skinny sign or in between the cascades, maybe something frisbees on a post or something. But I actually think it's a great visual.
Yeah, that fourth one that's empty on the bottom, that was not there before. And then when buyer's time came, I put it in so I could get a feel for like spacing and things. So before the 3 were spread out, so it made a little more sense. It just looks off right now.
Okay, let me do this last one. Okay. All right, tell us about this one, Angela.
Can y'all see it? Oh, there it is. I think this one, I just was, sorry, the lights aren't on in there, so it looks a little dark, but I feel like maybe adding some different dimensions because I feel like they're all on the table, so making it a little more interesting. I also really like that window, and I just feel like there could be something really fun to do there. So, but without covering, because it also is fun for kids to walk by or people walking by there that are like, oh, what's going on in the store, and they can see. But I also am like, it could be used for something really fun. So I think just that whole section is like just something I'm trying to think through.
Any thoughts or feedback for Angela?
Yeah, I feel like with this space, it like feels like a lot of like little things all together. And so maybe if you put like even adding a texture like a run of hats in like in one of those or 2 of those spaces, because that feels like a little bit more like of a solid thing instead of a bunch of little things. That's just a personal, like if I walk into the store and see like a bunch of small things in piles, it just kind of stresses me out because it feels like there's a lot going on. But that is maybe more of a personal thing.
I also think that this might be a fun place for like some lights or like some really cute like string lights above, like if you like draped them or even if you like lined the window with them, it might make it just feel like inviting and fun. Like and like kids get to look in the store and be like, oh, we're dreaming about the shirts they want. And it's just maybe something a little more inviting.
Good feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a lot of metal buckets, so maybe even just changing some things up, bringing some color. I love the lighting idea around that window, Allie, because that is her front display window. All right, well, I'm going to share one last thing here, and then we'll wrap up for the day. Let's see here. I don't think you can see my screen, can you?
I have a question for the group while you're pulling up your screen, Kathleen. I feel like I always feel the pressure to put a hat on a mannequin. Is there ever a time where it's like okay to leave a mannequin blank at the top, or is it best to always like accessorize it?
I think if the mannequin has a head, it should have something, but I have plumpkins that you can remove the head of. And then I don't always put a hat.
I have a lot that are just like the neck, like that, the cut off part in the neck.
Oh, yeah. I don't think so, because I think it's kind of weird because then the hat is like sitting down on the body, which that kind of looks weird too.
I have some that
I think
it's like, oh
great
yeah.
to like put a hat near it, but I don't think it necessarily has to be sitting on the mannequin. That's my opinion.
Great, great feedback. Well, I know we've run a couple minutes over, but just to wrap up, there are some great places for inspiration. Taking pictures and doing the exercise we just did with another retail manager is really helpful because we can get stuck and we can have seen the thing 100 times and just don't have any inspiration. The other thing is there's some great resources. Pinterest is one of those. We have over 2,000 pictures where we have gone on and shared great displays that we've seen. Continue to share those and add to that, but there's a lot of inspiration. Here's just a few. That bottom corner was from Marge. She did s'mores where she made a Hershey's bar and a fake fire and marshmallows. This one is basically limbs that are free, wrapped with colorful yarn, hung on fishing wire in a display that created kind of a colorful backdrop that added some texture. Could even be hanging from the ceiling to create a separation on your front table of interest. These big spools that are often hanging around our camps are free. They've got stacked on top of each other. And then chalkboard paint, where an old clipboard was painted with chalkboard paint and then used as signage. And then probably one of my favorites is just going to Michael's and buying these crates. They're super inexpensive. You can paint them or stain them and stack them in any little corner in different shapes to create height and interest, super inexpensive ways. And then this tray, literally taken from like a cheap dollar store cheap tray and then painted with magnetic paint and then put on an easel as a way to display buttons. So again, lots of inspiration out there, following the principles that Brenda shared, and then looking for inspiration from one another or from some of the resources. But we all have places in our stores that we can get stuck with. And believe me, that's true of every one of us. So, all right, well, before we sign off, any questions about display and merchandising?
Yeah, how do we get access to that Pinterest board, or what is it called?
Yes, you just shoot me an email. Every retail manager, and so I would have thought you would have had access. There are 5 shared boards on Pinterest that we all add to: crafts, coffee, display, trends. So just remind me if you don't have access to those 5 boards, you should, because there's a lot of good sharing. We've put a lot of time into those, so good stuff there. Anything else? Okay. Well, happy displaying. Between now and our next session with Haley on crafts, because of what taking the pictures, why don't you send me or email me your pictures and I'll put them on a slideshow so it'll be easier to share. But for this next thing, take a picture of your craft menu and your space. And again, it doesn't have to be fully ready for customers. Just want to get a sense of where you're executing crafts, and bring your craft manual with you. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks Brenda.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kathleen.